matter what people want you to believe, don't ever turn back on your dreams.
Hi, Benjamin. How are you?
Hello, hello. I am doing really
Hi, welcome
good.
to my channel, 3 Degrees of Love Divination. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel. I am been so stoked to meet you. So you are the creator of the Earthen Soul Oracle.
Yes.
And yes, it is beautiful. I don't yet have the deck, but I cannot wait to get it because it, from what I've seen, like, of course I stumbled across, upon you on Instagram, and actually there was one post, I think it was by what's her name?
Did Astral Mermaid or something?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
would like that name, but I was like, no, that's the name of her deck. That's not the name of her. And I'm like,
Doesn't she live in the UK?
no, she's Canadian.
No, I know that, but like, doesn't she live in the UK? And she
No,
back to Canada?
no,
No, she lives in Ontario now.
she's another fellow Canadian. And she did the Ascension, is it the Ascension Soul Oracle? I mean,
I remember.
not Oracle, sorry, Tarot. And also she did the I think it is called Astral Mermaid. That's her newest deck. And then also did the walking meditation deck. And I think that was the post with the walking meditation deck, and it was combined with your deck. And I thought
I'm gonna find the card.
so beautiful together. And I was like, did she create an oracle deck and I don't know about it? And I was like, then I looked and I was like, no, it's not, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, but I was like, it's beautifully paired. And so right away, that's when I fell in love. And I still want the walking meditation, but I still haven't been able to get it yet. Or even her I think it's the Ascension Tarot that she did, and I still don't have that. And that one has another sort of, I feel, personal connection for me in regards to my journey and everything like that. But so since seeing your deck and then finding, getting the chance to, of course, as soon as I saw you, and I think it was, you also had a live stream going, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this, something about you just lit me up. And I already was like with the deck and the excitement and, spirituality and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, I feel like he has my spirit. And I was like, yeah, okay. So let me, right? And then to find out you don't live that far away. You were also Canadian. You live in Ottawa, which I can literally jump in my car and, drive to you. Probably, take me several hours, but,
Yeah.
whatever. Right? We live in the same province. So like that was another thing that really excited me. And then, and just getting to talk to you and just hear your perspective on life and people. And, it's like, I was like, yes, this is another soul person. Like, this is a soul family. We're on the same, like, wavelength. We think the same way about just outlook on life and people and being connected. And so I was like, yeah. So I couldn't waste time. My piggies wouldn't allow me to waste the time, and it was like, we need to contact him right now. Let's go. Let's make your way.
So here's the thing.
And I couldn't be happier because you right away you agreed, and then I've just ever since been waiting for this day to finally do this with you. So I'm so excited. What could have the only thing that could have made this better is me having your deck in my hands right now. So like we can like gush about it and you know, and work with it and stuff like that. So, but enough about me chattering. I want to hear, I want you to tell me and all those on my channel all about you and how you came to be the person that you are today.
Oh my gosh, that's a huge question, and I'm a rambler. So for everyone who is watching, just be prepared. I will go down several rabbit holes with my ADHDS way of speaking. Okay.
You're
So
in perfect company, so don't, just go right ahead.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about where I'm from. So I'm actually originally from about 2.5 hours from Scarborough. Okay. So I'm not originally from Ottawa. Do you know the small town of Walkerton?
I've heard of it, but not
So
really. Like,
Owen Sound, Port Elgin, Kincardine, like
okay,
country, but very country.
okay.
So it's like that best of both worlds, I guess you can say, from Hannah Montana. No, just kidding. But
So bush
so
country in Canada, sure, yeah.
yeah. So I come from a very, very small town in a small knit community. And when I grew up, I was kind of sheltered because there was so many parts of me that I expressed as a young child, but so many parts of me that was also so hidden and that was sheltered because I didn't understand sexuality. Or anything of like gender or anything of that sorts. I was like, I want to go outside. I want to like catch the butterflies and create little grass forts for like whatever I catch, like the snails or whatever, right? So growing up in elementary school and even high school, more so elementary school, because at this point I was used to all the verbiage. There was a lot of provocative things. I was like, oh, what is all this stuff? And um, then I hit high school, and then I came out in grade 11 as gay. And I tested the water before I fully came out to my girlfriend at the time. Her and I were very, very close, and I kind of unintentionally destroyed that like friendship aspect because I hurt her feelings by coming out. And, it sucks. It just happens. But I was in love with her. She's like a phenomenal human being. But the circumstances, like when you're sheltered and you can't really be yourself, you kind of have to live this, I guess you can say, Hannah Montana life in some sort of way. But the Hannah Montana aspect, not Miley, but the Hannah Montana is more so internal dialogue. It's all internal stuff. So it's a lot of pent up emotions, a lot of like pent up confusion because you're so young and you don't know what any of the like the feelings are. You don't really know about it. Nothing's connected. Nothing makes sense at this point. So in high school, I didn't really explore, and I knew I liked guys, and like I also had that rare occasion where girls could turn me on, but it was very, 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 very rare blue moon. But guys, like like I went to college and I had some fun. Do I regret it? Not at all, because I was able to express myself and explore, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was this lost soul because you didn't really get to, well, I didn't really get to explore all of my personalities, my characteristics. I was pent up for such a long time. So back in 2016 was kind of like the beginning stage of who I am now. And
Mm.
it was like the caterpillar that is, doing its thing before it like nests up in that one spot to form a butterfly. And I feel like I am that butterfly stage now, but I feel like I'm going to take it into like the Pokemon era where it's like there's Butterfree and then it transforms into like a better version of that. I'm kind of in that stage, and I'm always going to be evolving and finding who I am as an individual because life goes on. We learn new things, and we're always evolving as an individual. So I will always be in that cycle. But back in 2016, I put my bank account in overdraft of $1,500 to drive out west. I found a job. I drove out there, and the last penny I spent on gas was the last little bit of money I had just to make it there. And if I would have drove 2 more kilometers, my car would have been like, dead. And I made it to the parking lot, and I was like, whew, now that's going to sit there until my paycheck and I'll be good, And I needed to leave my hometown in Ontario because there was this residual like grunge feeling, because like that's all I was surrounded by, and I couldn't breathe fresh air. So I had to like leave in order to grow and understand myself without all the noise. So that's what I did, and I moved to Tofino, BC. And if anyone ever has an opportunity to go, I highly suggest visiting. It's like one of my favorite parts of Canada. So Vancouver Island and Tofino. And Tofino was very much like, it's a very high, active, spiritual place, and so much sacred land, a lot of wildlife. I had 2 bald eagles fly right in front of me, shoulder height, maybe 4 meters away from me. I was like,
Wow.
oh, they never do that. It's like very, very rare. And my experience in Tofino was kind of like, oh my gosh, like these things are happening. Like, oh, what is going on? And I realized, wow, like just something clicked, And then I got a tarot deck, and it clicked even more. And that was the last time I used tarot, was in Tofino. And then I took a little bit of a break because I was just vibing out and going with the flow of things. And Tofino was really my reawakening for me. And it was the beginning to what it is now. And, I had so many adventures. I was always out in nature doing stuff and connecting, and I loved it. Like something like, and I don't mean this in a sexual standpoint of turning me on, but a nice bed of moss in the forest where you can just like see the moisture of like the water droplets, and laying on it like nude. It just like, it turns me on with so much excitement, and it makes me want to be there, because it's like it hugs me with so much warmth and love and positive energy. And it's something that I hadn't really had consistently in the past before. So it was healing me. And now, into comparison to then to now, I'm focusing on healing my inner child, because we rob ourselves from all the experiences that we didn't take because of whatever it was. And now I'm allowing my inner child to just enjoy, because why not? And
Absolutely.
exactly. So I moved from Tofino to Victoria, which is 4 hours, still on Vancouver Island. Amazing city. It is the best city to live in Canada from my experience. I've lived in multitudes of cities around Canada. And I really love Victoria. It's a nice, clean city. There's some rough patches, but every place has a rough patch and a good patch. But there's just always something to do out in nature, like the ocean. You have lakes, you have mountains, you have like city. If you're not much of a nature person, Victoria is
I'm
such
allergic to outside, actually.
Pardon?
So I well, I guess as a kid, I always had like terrible skin, like eczema and stuff like that. So, but I never really had like allergies. Allergies came about like now I was already in probably my mid 30s, and then I had to get an allergy test, and then like to find out that I basically should be living in a bubble, which is actually not that far-fetched, because I live like a real life hermit. But I'm apparently allergic to feathers, to cats, dogs, mold, trees, feathers. How is somebody allergic to trees? Like that was the one thing. It was like,
It's
huh?
probably pollen and like, yeah.
I was like, okay, so then I'm allergic to trees. Okay, sure. Um, you know, so like, yeah, I'm very much in, you know, like sort of the indoor aspect. But do I love nature? Yes. And you know, and I can the images, and when I picture, when I do get the opportunity to, you know, um you know, to view the
Mm,
outside world, you know,
yeah.
and be in nature, it is very beautiful. But because now of, you know, me being stuck inside and allergic to everything, and I don't do well with bugs and things like that either. So
Oh, me and
I
Buck, if
say
there's
that again.
spiders or mosquitoes, I'm just like, okay, like screw you off.
No, but they love me. They they love me. I don't. I'm sorry. The feeling. I am love. So I love it. I love everything. Just, I just don't know. Me and the bugs just, no, we just don't mesh. Like, they love me. I don't. The feeling is not reciprocal with that way. I respect them, yes, because God made them. But they, other than that,
There's
they can
just
stay where they go in their habitat, and I'll stay in mine. But
exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, so I moved from Victoria to Calgary. And I was like, it took me a while to get used to Calgary. I love Calgary. I would definitely move back. It's a beautiful place. It took me almost 3 years to warm up to Calgary. Okay. And I felt like, because Calgary and Vancouver Island are like completely different like vibes. Okay. They're so different. So I was dealing with that shock of environment. And I was trying to find my voice within Calgary. And I did eventually. And then I started creating my Oracle deck while I was in Calgary. And then I moved to Ottawa, it'll be 2 years in July. And my Oracle deck business, with what I'm doing now, started technically in Ottawa because my physical copies of my Oracle deck arrived in Ottawa. But the process of creation of my Oracle deck happened in Calgary.
Okay, so that's like a perfect segue. So because now, like, as you're dropping, you know, the hints there about your Oracle deck, now I'm intrigued to find out how that project came to be. Like, what inspired you to create it, and like, yeah, and what was the inspiration to its theme, if you will.
So while I was on okay, so I'm just going to show a visual representation so then people understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to read the back of it. So about this deck, if you're looking to be grounded through Earth's energies and connect with your guides and raise your vibrations, I recommend this deck. It has 45 cards and it comes with a miniature like masterclass. It teaches you about how you can ground your energy, set your intentions, manifest. It has card spreads. It has how to create your own card spreads. And it, you know, creating your own card spreads, it's about intentions and manifesting. So it's collaborative together. So it's a very, very earthy deck. You know, there's so many different elements of Earth and what Earth has to offer. And essentially, I wanted the deck to represent who I am and what I connect with. And I connect really well with nature. I love how there's messages everywhere. When you open your eyes and ears and your awareness to those messages and what's around you. And when I was in Victoria, I discovered a naturist community. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's like a nude community. And it's not a sexual matter at all. It's just we're showing up in our most raw, authentic form. And you get to see people of different skin tones, like different races, ethnicities, shapes, sizes, different genders. And it's like the most beautiful thing in the world because you get to see them for who they are and there's no judgment. We're all just chilling and chatting, connecting in the
It's the
most
open vulnerability.
exactly. And,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't feel ashamed of my body. And I was kind of at that time on discovering like, I really love me for me. And no matter what shape or size I am, I'm good. You know, like this is me, everyone. And we're all celebrative amongst each other. And it's not like we're pointing things out, it's just that safe feeling where you can just show up and not expect anything. And you're good, you're safe. And I love that. So I wanted a part of that in this deck. And that's why on the front there's nudity, because when we talk about authenticity, if there was a word to describe me, it's authentic. And it's so important to me to represent yourself as who you are in the present moment and be so true to that and not try to worry about pleasing other people, not trying to like, just please yourself by just being who you are. Don't hold back in any shape or way. And the people who are supposed to be in your life will come either way. And so this deck is very grounding. It's very naturey. It's very much community. And it brings you back home and centering yourself and your energy. And my reason why I created this deck goes into like, here is the main reason, and then it stems into so many different reasons. Okay, so I'm going to name a couple of them because I will talk for like years about the reason. Okay, so
Okay.
I have a lot of people who are gravitated towards me, and I was like, okay, I'm one person, I don't know how I can help so many people while balancing looking after myself. So how in the hell am I supposed to do this? And I remember getting Rebecca Campbell's deck, Oracle deck, as my first one, and it's the Work Your Light. I'm looking at it right now, and I was like, "This is so beautiful." I was like, "I should create my own deck," and I want to help people on a bigger scale, and this will be an extension of me, and then that way, you know, I can just say, hey, this is a tool if you're looking for self-help, because maybe you're not into the woo-woos of the witchy or pagan or whatever. It doesn't have to be about, witchcraft. This is not just witchcraft, oracle and tarot. It's like self-help. If you're someone who is struggling and you want discrete tools to help you out and guide you, this is really great. Like any oracle deck is great, the ones that call to you. So I struggle with depression, and from the past, it got really, really ugly. And, I don't regret feeling any of those ways. Not that I chose to feel that way, but it really helped me understand a lot. So, pretty much to the point that I created this, my whole life is this deck. And all of my experiences of the good, bad, and ugly, whatever it may be, is in this deck. And I have so much experience guiding people, and I'm only one person and I can only handle a lot. So I was like, okay, here's a tool. If you're into it, go ahead. And it's also another tool that you can connect with your guides. If you do connect and believe in that stuff, you can connect with your guides by, asking help, and the cards will be their message. You can connect with loved ones. You name it. You can use it however you want to use it for, whatever is connected to you. And so that's kind of why I created my deck. And I know I'm supposed to help people. I'm a giver. I like to give and I like to support. I'm jumping in always. And a lot of the times I put myself back burner. And it's something that I've been working on recently for the past little bit now. And I'm starting to find a little bit of that balance. Like I used to do oracle card readings, and it was a lot of energy work, and I was always being drained because like my body, when you go to the gym and you do like, excuse me, it's been like say years since you went to the gym, and your first session is like you go hard at it and then your body's like so sore. That's kind of how I felt. and my body was like so sore. I felt like I got hit by a bus. So I had to like pull back a little bit, and I was trying to find that balance of doing reading. So I'm very particular on who I read for. Excuse me. And every once in a blue moon, when I follow my intention, not my intention, but my intuition. Let's say tomorrow, my intuition is like, you need to do readings. Like, you need to pop on and do some readings on live. I will go ahead and do that, but I'll cap it at a time. Because before, I was like, oh, I need to read everyone. Like, I need to like give this opportunity to everyone. And that's what fucked me over. So I just said, you know what? I call the shots, and I'm going to call my time, and I'm going to cap it at that. And if you missed it, reach out to me and you can book a reading.
Yeah.
And wait until the next live, whenever that may be, to have your reading. I'll do it then. So yeah, so that's kind of why I created my deck. And I wanted something that I can also use and that I relate with, because as much as I love Rebecca Campbell's deck, it doesn't always suit the situation. So I use multiple decks. I'm not just only using my own deck. I'm using multitudes of decks. So it's yeah, I just love it. And the creation process, whew, it was like insane in the membrane. It was so good. So yeah.
What was that like? What, because this is your first deck, right?
Yeah, and I'm currently working on the second one. That one's going to take a lot longer because my intuition and my guides were like, okay, there's a specific moment in life that you're going to experience that is going to be like the catalyst of the deck, even though you've already started it. There's until you actually get the imagery and everything else going, because I have messages already in here and in my phone, and I'm just waiting for that one moment. But the creation process was so magical. I didn't really feel that super stressed at times. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just did, because things like, so I'm going to start from the beginning of the creation process. So I decided I want to do a deck. This is kind of like the vibe. So I was like, okay, now I need to look for an illustrator. And I shit you not, like my illustrator popped up on a sponsored ad on Instagram. What are the odds? And I was like, oh, like she's giving me like Rebecca Campbell's deck and like Danielle Noel's like artistic styling. I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into her a little bit. And I found out she was in Canmore, and at the time I was living in Calgary, and that's roughly 2 hours of a drive. I was like, shit, I'm supporting local and Canadian. This is great. So I took a look, and I was like, okay, like I really like what I'm seeing. This is not like 100% my color scheme of whatever, but the styling and everything, I was like, this is great. And this is obviously the work of someone else's deck. That's not mine. So like, it's going to work fine for me. So I set up a consultation with her, and she kind of described on the order sequence of how it's going to work. So she's like, what you need to do, because the free consultation was get to know each other, and like the collaborative getting to know each other kind of way of working with someone. So it went well, and I really liked it. And yeah, so she explained to me the process, and essentially, you get the card names, you get the meanings, and then you start from there. And then when you get that stuff, you need to essentially create like a mood board, which is like a blueprint of each card, of the vibe that you want. She talks about color scheme of the entirety of the deck, like the vibe, so then it's cohesive. And then I just started working on like 5 decks or 5 cards at a time. And I would get a list of names from the card names from my list, and I will look at the list like this to get the card meanings. And I would look at the list and be like, okay, what one's jumping out at me? Like, what do you have to say? Like, my speaking, and I was trying to see the list of names for the cards. I was like, okay, it's this card, this card. And the messages were like shooting through so quickly. And I was like, okay, you need to slow down because I have to like translate what you're saying onto this piece of paper. And then I have my internal intuition working with me. My guides are speaking to me. And I'm like, okay, hold up, wait a minute, let me get this down because like my ADHD ass needs to like write everything down in my system. Needs to work for me, okay? So I found my rhythm with that. And let me tell you, the energy work, it was beautiful, but it tired me out a lot. So from time to time, I would like go balls to the walls working on like the meanings and everything like that. So I got my card names and I got my card meanings. And then um I would I had a journal and I actually threw all of that out because it's like I don't like keeping things and my deck is done now. And it wasn't too much to keep anyways because it was a lot of chicken scratch and like nee. And I thought about keeping it because it was like, you know, like it'd be so cool to have to reflect upon later. But it's like, eh. Anyways, so I wrote down kind of like the images of what I wanted it to look like. And then when I was sending her like 5 cards at a time, that's where I would get the visuals of what my explanations were, not the card meanings, but the explanation of how I want the card to look. I'd have a visual with the explanation, the card meaning, and then the card name. And then I'd send 5.
Sorry, can you show some of the cards? Because I want to, I also have some questions about the artwork. So like you said that you started this deck sort of started being created when you were in Calgary. So is the artwork places of Calgary and they're hand drawn by your
No.
okay.
So they are stock. It's a mix of like stock image with manipulation. And yeah, it's just a mixture of a lot of things. It's, I don't think she hand drew anything. She would find based upon my description of how I wanted the card to look. She would kind of research things and
So
she
it's
would
almost like a little bit of like collage and like overlay sort of artwork. Is that what I'm
kind of, yeah, kind
okay?
of. Funny thing is, I thought about creating like illustrating my own deck because I am a photographer, not actively a photographer right now, but I went to school for photography and digital imaging. So I have the experience, but the only thing that was the roadblock of my time sequence was I went to college back in 2012. I graduated in 2014, and in the end of 2012 into 2013 is when Photoshop went into subscription mode rather than having CDs. I still own the CDs, but they're not compatible with any of the new technology. So from the
Of course
time
not.
that I is when I had to find the laptop of that time in order to still use. So that I was thinking, I was like, okay, so I'm investing into this project. So if I were to invest my money in the equipment in order to do it myself, then I'm going to be backpedaling and it's going to not really align with things. So I'm just going to put this in someone else's ball court and we will work closely together. So that's what happened. So anyways, yeah, what was your question again? Because I went on one of my tangents.
I know, and I love it. So, because this is totally me. So yeah, all my inner cells are like, yeah, like
Let's eat it up.
Okay. So yeah, can you show some of the cards?
Of course.
And
So
and the other great thing that like because you even mentioned it as you were sort of talking about how the deck came to be and then giving it like your background and stuff like that. So one of the things that you talked about is of course you talked about mental health and specifically someone who suffers from depression.
mhm.
And as this is what my channel is all about and being a mental health advocate, and we're in a global mental health crisis. So all of this stuff, and it coming out now is like it's like it just lighting me up in a way that I'm just like, yes, because it's like I'm like you, I'm that giver. And yeah, I realized that, you know, on my journey, and you know, to where I am now today, you know, part of that was because I was giving too much. I was overgiving, and I was leaving myself the back burner. And now I'm paying the price, right? In you know, sort of physically speaking, in a way. You know, because that's also why I'm stuck at home. But
Mm.
even with that, you know, my mind is still like, wants to do, you know, just like you, is all over the place all the time. It just wants to do like everything. And I still very much enjoy being, you know, an advocate, being that kind of giver, right? Like just
Mhm.
being love. And I mean,
Yeah.
and like the way the world is right now, and how, you know, where we're at in society, like I remember when I, you know, even when I was at my lowest, you know, and I remember, you know, talking to, well, you know, for me it's God, right? And you know,
Mhm.
universe, creator, divine consciousness, whatever you want to call it, right? And I remember, and I was like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Mhm.
But I knew that I couldn't, because there were people that that I know needed me, and that were counting on me. And even though I felt in that moment very alone and abandoned, and you know, by you know, friends and family and just society in general, my work, everything, I said that I knew that I did not want this world to win. I was
Yeah.
not going to let this world change the true essence of who I know myself to be.
Mhm.
And it was on that path, and you know, the discovery of, yes, you know, being love, giving love, just, you know, be that's who I've always been. And
Mhm.
I know, and while she never really got the, you know, the fairness, if you will, right? It was always taken. Um, I was like, No, but I can't see who else I would want to be,
Mhm. See,
you
here's
know.
so for people like us, like the empaths, and who are in the same situation, we don't relate with this world and how it's running and how it's going, because like we're like, what the fuck? But we are here to be teachers, and that is kind of where like everything is stemming from, because I once didn't want to be here at all, and it wasn't like from a negative standpoint. It's just I don't relate, and I know I'm better off elsewhere. And what other options do I have? Right? And you know, it's just it's crazy when you think at a global scale and how like things are run and how people can make choices for us and tell us how we can live our life. And it's just like, well, no, like I want to live my life like this, and it's not going to hurt. You know, it goes into this big bag of things that would, yeah.
We can dive right into a whole rabbit hole, several rabbit holes about the whole state of society. I mean, even before we started recording, we kind of were already talking about that, right? Like, and
Yeah.
you know, and we realized we are definitely on the same wavelength. We come from, like, I don't know, maybe the same planet, if you will. Maybe planet of origins, or I don't
What
know, whatever,
what would
right? Like, I was
you
just like, sorry, say that again.
what would you call the planet?
Well, I know I'm a Palladium starseed. So like, if we're gonna get into the nitty-gritties of, like, you know, astro whatever, I'm a Palladium starseed. And more specifically, I actually, more recently, I've been, you know, deep diving and digging into that kind of stuff. And I know that the as a Palladian starseed, there's I forget, there's the seven sisters in the Palladian starseed, in their constellation. I just can't remember what it's called. And I think it's Alacron or I can't remember. I'd have to like look it up again or whatever. I don't remember the name specifically. So that's why that extra piece, I'm just like, you know what, I'll just, if anybody asks, I'm a Pleiadian starseed. Like, that's it. And I'm part of the Seven Sisters constellation. Like, I can't explain it any further because it's, to me, like, when I do try to explain it further, I'm like sitting there listening to myself and I'm thinking, you want to keep going or shall we just, let them lock you up right now?
Oh my Lord.
So, like, I mean, but yeah, and I guess I've always felt like this, even as a kid, I always felt like there was more. And I think that's also why I never really adhered to organized religion. Right, like being, like we were talking about this before, being, baptized, or christened, as the other side of Christianity likes to call it, because somehow there's a wrong, the way the Catholics do it is wrong. Started all this whole thing, like, just
oh my Lord.
yeah, but like, so but I always felt like, even because it was hard to wrap my head around. Okay, so God made the world, and yeah, and we start in Genesis, and and there was Adam and Eve, but then we go to school, and then there's science, and then they're talking about biology, and and then apparently humans, we morphed from apes. So then how did God make Adam and Eve? And then if we're derivative of Adam and Eve, so what you're saying is that Adam and Eve were originally apes? Like that, right? Like, those are the things that I used to think about how my brain used to try to process all of this.
It's a long process because, like, you're just trying to understand and make sense of things, and ideally it kind of does not make any sense.
No, but it's you know what? But it's when my life fell apart, and then I had to go into literal hermit mode and solitude, and I started doing the introspection, and I started deep diving, and I think I was, before we we started recording, I was again telling you that I used to work in a Christian bookstore at one point, and then it was from there that now, like, the fascination to do the leaps into, like you're telling me, the first translation of the Bible, which King James, from to English at least, because the original text is Latin and old. Okay, so but apparently then I stumbled upon the fact that there's something called the Apocrypha. What's the Apocrypha? Well, it's a bunch of, in a nutshell, it's a bunch of books that at the time King James, which is why it's called the King James Version, and now there's so many different translations of the same one Bible.
I don't understand that.
There's so many different versions of this. Don't even get me started down that rabbit hole.
Like, so many books in the ocean. There was one source at the time, and like, who's pulling shit from sugar?
And the thing is, so the other thing is, along this journey, right, when I started from the Christian bookstore or whatever, and I was and stuff, I stumbled across a book that is, so it's got all the religions, right? And in like from the start of time, like, so start right from the time the Big Bang went off, and then there were people, and there was a religion to be had. Like, I feel like I have to get, like, really to the nitty-gritty and explain this. Anyways, like, so it was, it was then there's like all this, and I know I didn't finish my Apocrypha talk, but I'll get back there. So I this book, right, and it has all the religions, and I look at Catholicism and when that started, and but then it's not even the beginning of the book. Catholicism is like somewhere in the middle of the book. There's so many other religions that started before Catholicism. So it's like, right, with Hindu being one of the oldest on record. So it's almost like, So they're really, so it's like, let me check these whole Bible things again. And what's with what's with all the different translations? And then when you read the text, some of them, even though it's the same scripture, it sounds so different when you think, right? Like when you read it side by side.
Well, this is just like a clear representation that people relate differently, right?
But it's almost like, but it's like Broken Telephone. It's a whole, that game, Broken Telephone, right? And the message that starts and it goes past through how many people, by the time it gets to the end, it's completely not the same thing at all. Like it's right. Well, no wonder why everybody is and we're so divided to this day, right? Because think about that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Right? And the Bible is and so like the back to the Apocrypha, right? The Apocrypha, and when I discovered this, and I was like, what are these books from the Apocrypha? Oh, well, they're just books, like I said, like that were taken out by King James because they didn't want. And when you really read and take a look and deep dive to what the Apocrypha is about, or like what the books are and what is written, it has some stipulations of being why it was taken out is because it has some teachings of the spiritual warfare and the witchcraft right of things, and that was part of, and because they were written by people they didn't consider to be holy, if you will, right? And so that's why it was taken out. Now the King James, which is the King James version of the Bible, is what the most Christians, for the most part, outside of Catholicism, they tend to read, at least growing up from what I recall, right? And that has I think 66 books, something like that. Whatever, I can't remember. So like whoever wants to look that up, if you really want to, go look it up. It's there. And then, but then, so the Catholic Bibles tend to have some of the books from the Apocrypha within it. And then, so then when learning what were the missing pieces of the Apocrypha and whatever, and I'm like, oh, so these are some of the witchcraft teachings and the spiritual warfare I was saying. And I'm like, so really and truly what you're saying is the Bible is actually part of a larger text. It's not even, so which means, so where the larger text? Well, that's the book of life.
Right?
What? The book of life, with the book of the dead, with, okay? So, like, well, there you go. So, divination, to divide a nation, right? Like, if you break it up, divination to divide a nation, right? Like, yeah. Because everybody we don't relate in the same way, but really when you take that step back, when you astro travel, if you will, to out, like, you can, through meditation, and you're sitting outside of the earth, you realize that all this shit is really just a translation of the same thing. Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslim, Catholic, Christian, Baptist, blah 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 blah.
The whole long list.
Witchcraft, paganism, It's all the same thing. It's what connects us to the earth. It's what connects us to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's right. And so that, like, when I finally sat on that and I was like, huh.
What do I connect with within all this?
Well, I know where I connect with, right? Because I'm from the light side, like, and I from up there, like, like I said, Pleiadian home is my home. But like, so and that's where I was like, well, yeah, I relate to, the idea of Christ consciousness. Like, I still would consider myself, Christian, by way of that is beautiful. By
Like,
way of, oh my
like
God, that is gorgeous.
when you
Right?
said
Like, I consider myself to be, like I said, like, because that's my upbringing, that's my heritage. So I know I came from that route. So I
Mhm.
still honor that and still whatever. But the whole dogmatic idea of, like, you must do this and you must no, that's
Can
not
you
for me. I'll have my
not?
relationship with my creator my way.
Right, exactly. Also, just a heads up. So this deck, I actually grabbed my sample deck. So this is the very first deck that I have received. So what happens is after like the illustrating and all that stuff, and you're ready to put it through the printer and blah 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 blah. So my printer services had sent me a sample deck. So in order to create a sample, it's not going to be run through the massive machines because it's only one deck. So they
Yeah.
hand everything, they hand do this and they hand do that, which there's imperfections within this deck because the scoring and stuff. So ignore all of that. So I'm going to go walk through a couple of the cards. And then some of them I will explain kind of like the behind the scenes.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
So,
And also, before I forget, because we love to chat, and we can go down several different rabbit holes. Will you pull a card for the collective
yes.
as well?
I'm actually going to see if I can find a different deck. Do you know what? I'm just going to mix this one up. Yeah, because my other decks are in some other land right now. Because I started using this one for my markets, for people to look at and stuff. I was like, you know what? That's actually not best representation of like the final product because the quality difference is different. But it still works and I'm still connected with it. And it's my very first one. For an example, the guidebook, the inside of the guidebook is actually in color, but my printing services forgot to add the image on the back of my sample.
Oh,
But on the back of the card, it looks like this, but without that. So, anyways, I'm actually going to stick this card in here. So I'm going to pull a card for the collective. And then I will read the guidebook. That way, people.
me a good guidebook. I love me a well-written guidebook because I feel like that's, to me, when as a reader, and I know there are a lot of, like, OG readers and things like that that are like, oh yeah, you don't need the guidebook, blah, 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 whatever. Like, the best readers don't need the guidebook or whatever. I still very much appreciate a good written guidebook because, again, as we've been talking about this throughout the entire time, is that we don't see everything the same way. We all have our different unique perspectives and things like that. So even though you created a deck and you put these images and how they meant to you and whatever, I want to know what I appreciate knowing what your thoughts are, what entered your head, because I feel like the words there, and I guess this is where I realize when I'm tuning into my gifts and stuff more, and I realize, okay, well, I think I'm a bibliomancer. That's, I think, right? Because words and, reading things, I pick up messages that way. And even with cards, like I very much, as much as, reading tarot and stuff like that and oracle, I like a deck with keywords. I know a lot of people don't, but I like a deck with keywords because I feel like it adds an extra something in the way that it speaks. And I also don't just use one or two decks. Like, I guess maybe that's the ADHD part of, my brain. It likes the multiples because I feel like, and I intuitively choose to pair what I work with and what I'll pair together. And it's the way all the cards speak to each other, and
Yeah.
to have, like, paint this sort of grandeur picture, if you will, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so because of that, that's, for me, I realized that, as I connect the idea of doing divination with mental health, I'm like, this is perfect because this is how we dive into our traumas. This is how we can really heal our traumas, because sometimes the traumas we endure in our lifetime don't just start there. They have probably been etched in our family history and our DNA for a while, and that's how, and maybe we're living out certain karmic cycles and things like that. And it's only until we bring awareness to those things that we can then address them, heal them, bring consciousness to them, so that we can actively, willingly change the karmic cycle
Yeah.
for the betterment of ourselves, our future selves, right, and ultimately all of humanity. And I
Yeah.
think, to me, that's what I see as being the downfall of society today, is we have all these unhealed trauma people walking around like zombies, and it's literally like a zombie apocalypse. Like, like, if you're into movies and stuff like that, right, and you understand the premise of, like, what a zombie is, except we've the they're not like flesh eating. We're not flesh eating people like that. And, well, I mean, we are of the earth and we go back to the earth. So technically, aren't we not ingesting our, anyway? That's a whole there's something topic for that. But no, like, I mean, we the trauma and the cycle of the patriarchal society, and the repetitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I caught on to this during COVID, because there was a video that I even showed my mom. Like, there was a video I saw on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
that was showing the Spanish flu, and it was a documentary on the Spanish flu and how all that they went through during that pandemic. How, when you look at it, it was just the same thing as what going on in society now, or what happened during COVID. And it was and how that how that spun. And I'm like, that's just history repeating itself.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know in my family there's, karmic patterns and cycles and things like that, right? Like, and I was like, okay, like, whatever. I realized that, I am, my purpose is, I'm a karmic cycle breaker. At least for my family, I'm the karmic cycle breaker. And one of my karmic lessons to learn was abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that came up, for me, as I can, doing the introspection and combining that with therapy and doing all that. I realized that, in a way, I was given a blessing, as what seemed to be a curse was also very much a blessing, because not only do I have that experience, that professional experience and education, where I, dove into that and mental health and things like that, but also as an empath, being subject to to developing that as, you know, as a diagnosed mental health, you know, situation for me. You know, and whatever else comes along with that, like the depression and things like that. But I also, you know, so because of that, you know, I had the access to the resources, and I, you know, and even though like the stigma and stuff like that, you know, people write people off because, okay, so you have a mental illness, or you have, you know, mental health concern, and you're crazy. No, no.
Well, people forget to look at the fact that, like, what is triggering these things in order to bring us to that state of being, right?
And a lot of the time, yeah, behavioral, childhood trauma, all of these things, right? And then, so then, of course, you know, because then my brain likes to go down rabbit holes all the time, always, you know, whatever. So, like, then it was like, oh, so I wonder if this runs in my family. Well, I know, like, you know, I know Alzheimer's and dementia do, you know, on one particular side. And it's like, okay, so what about, so how many in my family, but see, back then, again, it was the further stigma, right? The olden days. So how many people went undiagnosed with probably ADHD, or probably you know, depression or whatever, and that resulted to their behavior, and then that triggered something else for somebody to, and why they're, so
Yeah.
imagine families that are plagued with addiction, for example, right?
Yeah.
You know, mother, you know, mother, father, you know, you know, addiction runs in that family, and, you know, and then you have alcoholism. How long has that been running in the family, right?
Probably
and
for
and,
some,
and it might be, and it's continuous, but it's until someone gets the help and takes that active role to change that behavior, it's forever going to be etched in that family's DNA.
yeah, 100%. So I have pulled a card.
And please tell me, what is it? What card is that?
That
It's
is
beautiful.
self-reflection.
Ro-
So self-reflection, I'll read you the um from the guidebook. And there is one detail that I overlooked in my guidebook. I did not put it in alphabetical order. I was like, so meticulous, and being so meticulous, I had overlooked that. So I'll go to page 33.
Wow, you didn't have me in your corner. That's why I would have cut it.
So the guidebook does come in color, which is very rare, because the price of color escalates way up for everyone else. And I wanted this deck to be affordable as most affordable as possible for the consumer, or the people who are purchasing the deck, I guess, is the consumer. So the meaning: when was the last time you have checked in with yourself? Self-reflection allows your brain a chance to take a break amongst the chaos and to straighten out your observations. When you allow your thoughts and feelings to stay cooped up in your mind, it can cause confusion and frustration. Some time to do some self-reflection. I missed a word. I can't read, apparently. Spend some time to do some self-reflection and touch base with how everything makes you feel. The purpose of this is to evaluate what aligns with you and what doesn't. It helps you understand what you need, taking moments to recognize all of the accomplishments you have successfully made. I wish I could just English, okay? So bear with me, everyone. Taking moments to recognize all the accomplishments that you successfully made, even the small ones, can be a huge reminder of everything you do, which is so true. Reflect on those moments of weakness to better understand how you can evolve from them. Maintaining this practice into your routines will help you stay aligned and help you grow.
I couldn't have asked for a better message to appear like right?
It's like, it's, and self-reflection isn't a bad thing. It's like really good. Even if there's a little bit of ugly within that self-reflection, it's a really good chance to just kind of like not just face the ugly, but just have a conversation with the ugliness, or whatever you want to call it or identify it as. Because when you always want to stay in a positive mode, then the shit pile of negativity builds up. And if you don't face that, then you have a massive mountain that you have to deal with. And you're gonna be backpedaling faster than you are going forward. So self-reflection is like a really good way to understand yourself.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even so like, and here's the part that I think like the extra because I think what I've noticed about people and stuff like that, and when we think we're healing from what we've endured, we only look at the painful parts that were painful for us. And then
Mhm.
often people make their peace with that, and it's like, but they don't really take the time to do the deep dive to see how some of what they've been through is influencing some of the behaviors that
Mhm.
they end up adhering to in their everyday life, and how that unconsciously ends up triggering further trauma for other people. And then just again, we understand the law of karma and how that's all coming to be, right? So like it's like when we can be brave enough to do that so not just look at one half of the mirror, but look at the whole picture and really take and do that introspection, we can, when we have that better understanding, we can do better,
Oh,
right,
100.
as a whole.
So I'm gonna show some cards. I won't get into too much detail, just because I have to cap some time.
Oh my
Um,
god, I what time is
don't even be sorry. I can manage my time, so I'm gonna show you a couple of cards.
Yes,
Which,
please do. I just yeah, I can go on forever about mental health and
oh,
and
girl,
and
I'm very passionate about it, and that's the thing. When you're really passionate about stuff or whatever it may be, you can go on forever talking about it,
yeah, it's
right?
yeah.
So here is one. It is called Patience is Key. And there we go. Now I can see my screen.
I love that. Oh my God. Like this, I can't wait to have this deck and to use it. Because yeah, like I said, it's in perfect alignment, and the cards are beautiful. Like the images are breathtaking.
So bear with me. I'm gonna try something because I have a light on. As you can see, my glass is a reflection. I'm gonna turn it off. That way the card is not over bright.
But but even still, the images are still breathtaking. Like you can see, even though so they're shiny, they're glossy, but
Mhm.
they're like, I feel like it's for the artwork, you want the glossiness.
Oh yeah. This
Yeah,
one,
like it's
one of my, and
gorgeous.
a very funny story. So I'm self-published, so the only way you can get this deck is through me. Or if anyone has done wholesale through me, then you can get it at those shops. But I would always ask people, "Oh, what was your first card?" If you like pulled one card, this was like the most popular one, and it's like the funniest thing to me in the ironic way. I'm gonna save that card for last because I will probably go on a tangent. This card is so special.
What
Even though
card is that? Because I
it's
can't
simple,
read the font, but what is it?
it's the yes card.
Okay.
Ooh, so I can go on a tangent about this one as well, but I'm not going to because I don't quite
Please
have.
free, let go. That is gorgeous.
And then this one, ooh, okay. So I'm gonna pick this up.
It's a bee.
I got a patch, an iron-on patch, and I don't have very many left. Because I love bees, and I actually got it tattooed right there.
Oh, wow.
So there is this one. Ask for it. So the bee
Do
one is
you have the wisdom of the sacred bee? And then there's the so it's a trilogy too. There's I think one is either a Thoth based deck, one's RWS, and and then the Oracle, which is the wisdom of the sacred bee, and I think it's the keepers of the sacred bee, and I forget the other deck. But do you have those decks? Because
I
those are
actually
bee based decks. They're
I've been
indie, but
I've
they're
been wanting to get a bee, and I've been wanting to get a mushroom deck as well. But I have a long list of priorities right now, and they are like going lower and lower because as I'm expanding my business and all of my creations, because I do more than just Oracle cards, I have like a huge range of things that I do. Um,
jewelry. I've seen some of your jewelry that you made on your lives, and I have been in awe of them as well. So yes, you have a jewelry line. Do you
right.
have any of your pieces like close by that you can show?
Actually, I do. And it happens to be a mushroom. And I decided to take this from the store, online store, and be like, I love it so much. I'm gonna keep it for myself.
Oh wow. That is
So these
gorgeous.
black-eyed Susan petals, and then some daisy petals for the white.
Ooh.
Made with sterling silver.
And of course, I'm gonna have all your information linked down in the description box, so they, anybody can check out your deck, and your jewelry, because you make some gorgeous pieces. Like I've been on, and and my piggies are like, yeah, well, we want that, and we want that. We can't afford that right now, so you just need to calm down. But I
Well, we will chat after about that specifically.
okay, so yeah, yeah, so wow, this is okay. What card is this?
This one is take the spotlight. But yeah, do you see how the light is making this like
It's making the middle beam. Like it's yeah,
so yeah. So this is ground yourself.
gorgeous.
This one, like I said, there's gonna be some nudities, so you might see some things. But I'm gonna show it anyways.
Well, this is a not for children channel anyways. So
When
that's
it lands it,
gorgeous.
this one is so beautiful. Spread your wings.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
This one I kind of made reference to without making reference to, if that makes any sense.
It does to me.
So we have like the caterpillar into the butterfly thing I was talking about. I can't remember if that was like on the recorded aspect or if it was like previous conversation.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't remember either at this point, but yeah.
So this is the last card I'm showing, and there's like still more that you could see, but I'm gonna cap it at this one. But yeah, my deck has gilded edges, and the backside is a leaf.
And I'm sure like when I definitely get the deck, I'm definitely going to be doing a walkthrough of the deck or a review anyways, because I don't really do walkthroughs per se, but I mean, yeah, I will be reviewing and showing off the deck. So and I will flip through all the images, and I'm sure there has to be somebody who has a walkthrough of that already, and if I do find it, I will put it in the description box. So if you want to see the deck further, I will definitely have that.
So I got interviewed by an individual in the UK, and I will try to find that link for you.
Okay, yes, please do, so I can put it in the description.
So
That's gorgeous.
this card was supposed to be layer by layer, and let me show you, excuse me, layer by layer, so then you can kind of understand what I'm about to explain. So my original idea, it was not able to be executed because it was a little bit like out there. But so I'm going to explain my original idea for layer by layer. But this card is actually Speak Your Truth, because, which I'll get to in a second. So layer by layer, my original idea, I wanted, you know, those Russian dolls where it's like one item inside the other and you keep peeling back the layers. I wanted it to be like,
them.
but I wanted it to show the person having like multiple layers of skin and peeling back each layer. However, that could not be executed because that's a little much. But so this is the layer by layer. Okay, so we have some snakes, resembles like peeling back the old skin. Plus we have the tree, you know, that's the layer by layer. So when my illustrator came back, I had a card name called Speak Your Truth. And this was the original layer by layer, because it was like the idea of a Russian doll in her interpretation of it. And I was like, ooh, this is like a Speak Your Truth card. So when I looked at my list, I was like, this card, like Spirit was like, no, this is like Speak Your Truth. And so this is going back to being your most authentic self and that spectrum. And
I feel like it goes even further than that. To me, it even speaks of, you know, when you do that introspection work and you dive and you come into alignment to, you know, your highest self, you know, you're diving into your past, because we are our ancestors, right? Like we come from that bloodline. So, you know, everything that, you know, is etched within that family DNA resonates through to some capacity through your body, right? So like,
yeah,
it to me, that's what that speaks to. I
mm-hmm.
feel like that's what that card speaks to. When
Yeah.
when you say speak your truth, you're speaking the truth of who you are generationally too, not just who you are in the present moment, but you're honoring your heritage.
Well, exactly. And the thing that I love about like Oracle and even Tarot, like, because Tarot has more suits and they resemble the same, but Oracle is like all wide open. There's not one the same. There might be similarities, but what I like about, let's say if you and I were to buy the same Oracle deck, for an example, like Rebecca Campbell's, and we are going by our intuition, not so much the guidebook, but our intuition, which is what I do a lot. I'm very strong in that category or that spectrum. We might depict different things that is kind of on the same, like not level, but same, I guess you can say category, but it might expand into different wavelengths. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I love about like how the same card for this different people might be interpreted differently based upon their intuition, because like at the same time, it's what the messages are coming through for.
Exactly. And that's why, again, kind of going back to what I said about the guidebook, right? Like why I like a good guidebook, because I don't just, yeah, I could read intuitively, but I also like to be able to read the guidebook because it's got that added perspective that only could have come from its creator, or, you know, whoever, you know, collaborated with to create this deck. So that's me, right? Yeah. I know that a lot of the people don't necessarily appreciate that as much, but that's why I do as deeply as I do. And because, like I said, it's that added personal connection, I feel, to the creator and their work that they, you know, they poured their love into, right?
Yeah.
So,
When I read, like, I base it off my intuition, but also I like to read the guidebook in the event that I need to not just be inside of my own head, but like you were saying with the creator, but like it's spirit's way of also connecting with very specific words, because there might be specific words, like you said, point out at you very specifically. And it might not be like the whole paragraph. There just might be key words that you're supposed to read and focus on.
yeah.
So, but I am going to have to jump off in a moment or two.
Yes.
Just because I don't want Anna to be burnt.
Yeah, well, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So anyways, you know what? This has been amazing. And you know what? I loved, you know, talking to you, and I hope that we can do this again, actually. Maybe even when I finally do get your deck, we can even like maybe have a like a review session again with it. Because
that.
I love talking to you. I love the you know, to me, what you represent, and I feel like, again, we're like on the riding the same sort of wavelength. So like you and I can probably chat forever. And I love that. So you know, I want to thank you so, so much for taking the time to, you know, to chat with me today on my channel. And, you know, as I say, I am love and so are you, you know, and, you know, let's take care of each other and, you know, and take care of ourselves. And, you know, until next time, please live, listen, and learn. I love you. Ciao.
Bye.
Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. No matter what people